Hi everyone, my name is Sydney and today I'm going to be reading you my favourite poems from the book The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. Kaur? I'm really bad at pronouncing people's names. I'm not sure how you say it. Anyway, so this is Rupi's most recent book that she's written, and it is beautiful. I read it in one sitting and I enjoyed every single second. There were so many poems that stood out to me. They were very powerful. I recommended this book to my mum. I recommended this book to so many of my friends, and I really think that if you have not read this book yet, you really should. Oh, it was just so beautiful. And even the title is just beautiful. I tried to wear some yellow today. I'm wearing my Daisy La top, which says explore more, and it's funny because I wanted to wear some yellow for this video and I really don't own that much yellow. I should own more yellow, so I went with this. Do I look like a sunflower? Probably not. This book is sectioned off in 5 chapters, which are wilting, falling, rooting, rising, and blooming. Alright, so here we go in 3, 2, 1. Let's go with the first poem I loved. This one is on page 30 and is called What Love Looks Like. What does love look like? The therapist asks, 1 week after the breakup, and I'm not sure how to answer her question, except for the fact that I thought love looked so much like you. That's when it hit me, and I realized how naive I had been to place an idea so beautiful on the image of a person, as if anybody on this entire earth could encompass all love represented. As if this emotion 7 billion people tremble for would look like a 5'11" medium-sized brown-skinned guy who likes eating frozen pizza for breakfast. What does love look like? The therapist asks again, this time interrupting my thoughts mid-sentence, and at this point I'm about to get up and walk right out the door, except I paid far too much money for this hour. So instead, I take a piercing look at her, the way you look at someone when you're about to hand it to them. Lips pursed tightly, preparing to launch into conversation, eyes digging deeply into theirs, searching for all the weak spots they have hidden somewhere. Hair being tucked behind the ears, as if you have to physically prepare for a conversation on the philosophies, or rather disappointments, of what love looks like. Well, I tell her, I don't think love is him anymore. If love was him, he would be here, wouldn't he? If he was the one for me, wouldn't he be the one sitting across from me? If love was him, it would have been simple. I don't think love is him anymore, I repeat. I think love never was. I think I just wanted something. Was ready to give myself to something I believed was bigger than myself, and when I saw someone who could probably fit the part, I made it very much my intention to make him my counterpart. And I lost myself to him. He took and he took, wrapped me in the word special until I was so convinced he had eyes only to see me, hands only to feel me, a body only to be with me. Oh, how he emptied me. How does that make you feel? Interrupts the therapist. Well, I said, it kind of makes me feel like shit. Maybe we're all looking at it wrong. We think it's something to search for out there, something meant to crash into us on our way out of an elevator or slip into our chair at a cafe somewhere. Appear at the right amount of sexy and intellectual, but I think love starts here. Everything else is just desire and projection of all our wants, needs and fantasies, but those externalities could never work out if we didn't turn inward and learn how to love ourselves in order to love other people. Love does not look like a person. Love is our actions. Love is giving all we can, even if it's just the bigger slice of cake. Love is understanding. We have the power to hurt one another, but we are going to do everything in our power to make sure we don't. Love is figuring out all the kind sweetness we deserve, and when someone shows up saying they will provide it as you do, but their actions seem to break you rather than build you, love is knowing whom to choose. Just beautiful. And she's got this little illustration as well. On page 45, this is a poem called Questions. There is a list of questions I want to ask but never will. There is a list of questions I go through in my head every time I'm alone and my mind can't stop itself from searching for you. There is a list of questions I want to ask, so if you're listening somewhere, here I am asking them. What do you think happens to the love that's left behind when two lovers leave? How blue do you think it gets before it passes away? Does it pass away? Or does it still exist somewhere waiting for us to come back? When we lied to ourselves by calling this unconditional and left, which one of us hurt more? I shattered into a million little pieces, and those pieces shattered into a million more, crumbled into dust till there was nothing left of me but the silence. Tell me how, love. How did the grieving feel for you? How did the mourning hurt? How did you peel your eyes open after every blink, knowing I'd never be there staring back? It must be hard to live with what-ifs. There must always be this constant dull aching in the pit of your stomach. Trust me, I feel it too. How in the world did we get here? How did we live through it? And how are we still living? How many months did it take before you stopped thinking of me, or are you still thinking of me? Because if you are, then maybe I am too, thinking of you, thinking of me, with me, in me, around me, everywhere, you and me and us. Do you still touch yourself to thoughts of me? Do you still imagine my naked, tiny body pressed into yours? Do you still imagine the curve of my spine and how you wanted to rip it out of me because of the way it dipped into my perfectly rounded bottom? Drove you crazy, baby, sugar baby, sweet baby, ever since we left. How many times did you pretend it was my hand stroking you? How many times did you search for me in your fantasies and end up crying instead of coming? Don't you lie to me, I can tell when you're lying. Because there's always that little bit of arrogance in your response. Are you angry with me? Are you okay? And would you tell me if you're not? And if we ever see each other again, do you think you'd reach out and hold me like you said you would the last time we spoke, and you talked of the next time we would? Or do you think we just look, shake in our skin as we pine to absorb as much as we can of each other, because by this time we've probably got someone else waiting at home? We were good together, weren't we? And is it wrong that I'm asking you these questions? Tell me, love, that you have been looking for these answers too. Another little poem that I loved from this book was on page 99. Let it go, let it leave, let it happen. Nothing in this world was promised or belonged to you anyway. All you own is yourself. Just so beautiful. I love it. For me, self-love has been one of the biggest things for me this year, and I can't believe I haven't been promoting it more in my entire lifetime. So just reading stuff like this just warms my heart, and I really wish to express self-love as much as I can, because I think everyone should love themselves. You should be the first person you say I love you to, and with that you'll be granted so many beautiful things, so many things that you deserve, and success will just easily come into the palms of your hands. It will come very easily. On page 138, this poem really stuck with me because I feel like I have to be giving back more to my parents. I feel like I will be constantly owing them my entire life. And I think it's important that you start now. You start as soon as possible with that, because we don't know when our end is. Everything is unexpected, and you don't know what is going to happen, when things are going to happen. My parents never sat us down in the evenings to share stories of their younger days. One was always working. The other too tired. Perhaps being an immigrant does that to you. The cold terrain of the north engulfed them. Their bodies were hard at work, paying in blood and sweat for their citizenship. Perhaps the weight of the new world was too much, and the pain and sorrow of the old was better left buried. I do wish I had unburied it though. I wish I'd pried their silence apart like a closed envelope. I wish I'd found a small opening at its very edge, pushed a finger inside and gently torn it open. They had an entire life before me which I am a stranger to. It would be my greatest regret to see them leave this place before I even got to know them. It makes me just want to get a coffee with Mum and ask her all these questions that she needs to actually answer to. Okay. This one just melted my heart. On page 142. What if there isn't enough time to give her what she deserves? Do you think if I begged the sky hard enough, my mother's soul would return to me as my daughter, so I can give her the comfort she gave me my whole life? And even better, what's next to it on page 143. I want to go back in time and sit beside her, document her in a home movie so my eyes can spend the rest of their lives witnessing a miracle, the one whose life I never think of before mine. I want to know what she laughed about with friends, in the village within houses of mud and brick, surrounded by acres of mustard plant and sugar cane. I want to sit with the teenage version of my mother, ask about her dreams, become her pleated braid, the black coal caressing her eyelid, the flower neatly packed into her fingertips, a page in her school books. Even to be a single thread of her cotton dress would be the greatest gift. To witness a miracle. And look how beautiful this illustration is. Oh, and this one on page 148. My mother sacrificed her dreams so I could dream. How beautiful is this? Like, how can you look at this book and not think it's beautiful or worthy? This is another poem which is right next to it on page 149, which just made me think so much. It made me think so much. Broken English. I think about the way my father pulled the family out of poverty, without knowing what a vow was, and my mother raised 4 children without being able to construct a perfect sentence in English. A discombobulated couple who landed in the new world with hopes that left the bitter taste of rejection in their mouths. No family, no friends, just man and wife. 2 university degrees that meant nothing, 1 mother tongue that was broken now. 1 swollen belly with a baby inside, a father worrying about jobs and rent, because no matter what, this baby was coming, and they thought to themselves for a split second, was it worth it to put all of our money into the dream of a country that is swallowing us whole? Papa looks at his woman's eyes and sees loneliness living where the iris was, wants to give her a home in a country that looks at her with the word visitor wrapped around its tongue on their wedding day. She left an entire village to be his wife. Now she left an entire country to be a warrior, and when the winter came they had nothing but the heat of their own bodies to keep the coldness out. Like 2 brackets they faced one another to hold the dearest parts of them, their children, close. They turned a suitcase full of clothes into a life, and regular paychecks to make sure the children of immigrants wouldn't hate them for being the children of immigrants. They worked too hard, you can tell by their hands. Their eyes are begging for sleep, but our mouths were begging to be fed. And that is the most artistic thing I have ever seen. It is poetry to these ears that have never heard what passion sounds like, and my mouth is full of likes and ums when I look at their masterpiece, because there are no words in the English language that can articulate that kind of beauty. I can't compact their existence into 26 letters and call it a description. I tried once, but the adjectives needed to describe them don't even exist. So instead I ended up with pages and pages full of words followed by commas and more words and more commas, only to realize there are some things in the world so infinite they never could use a full stop. So how dare you mock your mother when she opens her mouth and broken English spills out? Don't be ashamed of the fact that she split through countries to be here so you wouldn't have to cross a shoreline. Her accent is thick like honey, hold it with your life. It's the only thing she has left of home. Don't you stomp on that richness, instead hang it up on the walls of museums next to Dali and Van Gogh. Her life is brilliant and tragic. Kiss the side of her tender cheek. She already knows what it feels like to have an entire nation laugh when she speaks. She is more than our punctuation and language. You might be able to paint pictures and write stories, but she made an entire world for herself. How is that for art? Oh, so beautiful. Mum, I love you. I love you so much. If you're watching this, I love you so much. and I know sometimes I mock your accent, like how I used to say serviettes instead of serviettes, and how apparently I say the word only funny. I love how I say only, so screw those who think it sounds stupid. I got it from my mama. I got it from my mama. Oh hot damn, this one on page 223, I could not agree more. I had a conversation the other day with my mum saying how I think it's very stupid that people shun women's breasts in public. For example, when a mother needs to feed her child, there is that one way where you feed them through your boobs, but we're apparently not allowed to do it in public because people get offended, people get annoyed, people get this and that. And I think it's stupid because it's a natural part of our body that us women have. So why do we have to hide it when it's natural and beautiful? I don't understand. I don't think you understand. I don't understand. So I love this very short and simple poem that she wrote on page 223. You want to keep the blood and the milk hidden as if the womb and breast never fed you. Hot damn, that's right. Two beautiful natural things, having periods and having boobs. Like, why is it such a topic that people hate to discuss? Why is it ill? I don't get it. It's not ill. Change your mentality. And then there are days when the simple act of breathing leaves you exhausted. It seems easier to give up on this life. The thought of disappearing brings you peace. For so long I was lost in a place where there was no sun, where there grew no flowers. But every once in a while, out of the darkness, something I loved would emerge and bring me to life again. Witnessing a starry sky, the lightness of laughing with old friends, a reader who told me the poems had saved her life. Yet there I was struggling to save my own. My darlings, living is difficult. It is difficult for everybody. And it is at that moment when living feels like crawling through a pin-sized hole that we must resist the urge of succumbing to bad memories. Refuse to bow before bad months or bad years. Because our eyes are starving to feast on this world. There are so many turquoise bodies of water left for us to dive in. There is family, blood, or chosen, the possibility of falling in love with people and places, hills high as the moon, valleys that roll into new worlds, and road trips. I find it deeply important to accept that we are not the masters of this place. We are her visitors, and like guests, let's enjoy this place like a garden. Let us treat it with a gentle hand so the ones after us can experience it too. Let's find our own sun, grow our own flowers. The universe delivered us with the light and the seeds. We might not hear it at times, but the music is always on. It just needs to be turned louder. For as long as there is breath in our lungs, we must keep dancing. And that for me would have to be my favourite poem in this entire book, because it's just so fitting and it's just so beautiful. If you haven't read The Sun and Her Flowers, I really urge you to do so, because there are many more poems which I think you would love and you would be able to relate to. Well, anyway, if there were some favourite poems of yours in here, please let me know what they were in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video, me blabbing and trying to be a poet with my voice. So yeah, as usual, bye!